What's that, Servo Skull? You want me to tell a Warhammer 40k story? Who should I talk about? Rylanor the Ancient of Rites? You know what? Good choice. Okay, the last stand of Rylanor, the Ancient of Rites. For some backstory, Rylanor was a space marine of the Emperor's Children, a loyalist space marine. The Emperor's Children, along with their Primarch Fulgrim, fell to chaos after Fulgrim found a sword that had a greater demon of Slaanesh in it. Slaanesh is essentially the chaos god of hedonism and excess. Rylanor was a Terran or Orth-born original Emperor's Children space marine, which unfortunately they had a corrupted gene seed, and by the time Fulgrim was found, there were few day ones left. Rylanor, being the most respected among them, ultimately wounded and interred in a dreadnought after a battle with Eldar. A dreadnought is essentially half life support system, half walking tank. He became the Ancient of Rites, would oversee induction ceremonies for the Emperor's Children, and he would fight whenever possible. Even though a dreadnought, you do spend a lot of time in hibernation. Eventually, he started seeing things that weren't cool with his legion, but because his Primarch was fine with it, all he could do was be a good example. Until Istvan III, which was a ploy by the traitor Primarchs to cull their loyalist faction members. They assembled them on the planet and nuked it. A bunch of them got to safety, including Rylanor, because another loyalist Emperor's Children flew to the planet and warned them in what should have been an easy win for the traitors turned out to be a slow, bloody campaign where the loyalists made them pay dearly for each life they took. Eventually, they were overrun, and Rylanor was damaged by Emperor's Children Sound Marines. His dreadnought was damaged, his leg was destroyed, and he was crippled, but he killed them. While this was happening, nukes were falling, and he spent the better part of 1,000 years tinkering with their sound weapons to make a homing beacon, and he also happened to have a virus bomb on him. Now, virus bombs contain something called the Life Eater virus, which can even go through fully sealed power armor and dissolve organic material. All Rylanor wanted was vengeance on his Primarch that disgraced the Legion, that drove them into depravity. And the Imperium, everything had changed. Eventually, he repaired the beacon, and Magnus the Red, traitor Primarch of the Thousand Suns, found the beacon. Now, for context, Magnus, through a trick, Leman Russ was sent to destroy Magnus's legion when his orders were supposed to be bring them in so the Emperor can deal with them, but the arch-traitor Primarch Horus Lupercal intercepted and altered the orders. So Magnus and the Thousand Suns basically fell to chaos out of desperation and for survival. So Magnus got a squad of Thousand Suns together, led by Vistario, and these guys were relatively uncorrupted. They made it to the planet, and eventually found a derelict dreadnought that lashed out and grabbed Vistario, in demanding to know whether they're friend or foe, because the Thousand Suns were not at Istvan III, and they tried to speak in half-truths and be deceptive with Rylanor, but Rylanor didn't trust them. Eventually, Fulgrim himself, in his demon snake Primarch form, slithers along and finds Rylanor and just begins gloating. Rylanor, just not having any of it, just pretty much told Fulgrim, "Here, eat this virus bomb on me." And the Thousand Sons, they used their psychic abilities and used a spell to enclose a force field containing the virus bomb. Rylanor would not be deterred. Even though he was a damaged, barely functioning dreadnought that hadn't been repaired in over 1,000 years and hadn't really had time to go into hibernation, he lashes out at Fulgrim, and the Thousand Sons and Vistario look at this, and Vistario, he doesn't see a broken, crippled dreadnought anymore. He sees a proud, noble warrior whose will to fight is as strong as it ever was. He sees an honorable warrior that will live and die by the sword. Unfortunately, Fulgrim's able to deflect Rylanor's attacks really simply and without effort. And then he begins to cut through the dreadnought and rip the sarcophagus with Rylanor's true body out. And he begins to gloat. Rylanor, still defiant, and Fulgrim's like, "I'm going to corrupt you and turn you to chaos against your will," which Rylanor is understandably horrified. But while the Thousand Sons are watching this, Vistario's talking to them psychically, and he's like, "Guys, this is extremely messed up. We may have fallen to chaos through a trick, but we chose our path. We followed our Primarch out of loyalty. This Rylanor is still loyal, and he's about to be dragged into our fate against his will," and they agreed, "Yeah, this is messed up." So Vistario boldly and defiantly chastises and just talks down to Fulgrim, telling him, "Rylanor deserves better than you. Rylanor deserves better than all of us." And before he could be the subject of Fulgrim's wrath, he pulls out his pistol, his bolt pistol, and he shoots the Thousand Son that's still holding the virus bomb force field up, killing him and releasing the virus bomb. Vistario able to die, a horrible death, but strangely peaceful, knowing he died with his pride intact. Rylanor dies, and Fulgrim, unfortunately, his body gets destroyed, but because he's a demon Primarch, he was able to rematerialize. But the thing is, Fulgrim had not known defeat since the Siege of Terra at the end of the Heresy, and Fulgrim is extremely prideful. So to suffer a humiliating defeat like this and have a crippled dreadnought get the better of him, it was a wound to his pride that he never recovered from. It's something that still haunts him. And as far as Rylanor, this dude was so honorable, so noble, so determined that he was able to redeem traitor Marines. That's the last stand of Rylanor, the Ancient of Rights.